What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage. Today we're going to be replacing the shifter notification switch and installing a backup camera on the OBS. I hope you guys are as excited as I am about this project. The backup camera is going to be really handy. Hey, if you like this content and you want to keep up with my progress on the OBS, please be sure you subscribe to the channel and you can hit that notification bell so you can get notifications whenever I upload new videos. But enough of that, let's get on to the action. Guys, we're out here working on the old truck again. I learned that my reverse lights are kind of hit or miss, so I ordered the part to replace that switch under the dash, and I figured while I was in there I might as well run the wiring for the reverse camera. So before I started the video, I kind of got in there and looked around and was trying to find specifically a place where I can get the wire into the cab or out of the cab, because it's wired to the back of the radio. And so I pulled the seat out here, pulled the carpet back a little, seat's over there, and I found I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There's a little grommet hole right there. And you just kind of punch it in from the bottom, and I'll get under the truck and kind of show you where it is if you want to do the same. But that just punches out with just a screwdriver and a little hammer. And I'll be able to run the wire up through there. And then that was the biggest thing I was worried about, was getting the wire into the cab, finding a place without having to drill a hole. So we're going to get started. I'm going to kind of do it all at once. I'm going to get the switch replaced, which is this guy here. It goes under the dash, and it does more than just the reverse lights, right? So it tells the truck what gear you're in, just in general. So if you're in reverse, it lights the reverse lights. It has a neutral lockout, so the truck can't be started in gear. So you have to be in neutral or park, so it does that. And mine, I'll turn the truck on in a minute and show you. I kind of have to wiggle the shifter in order to get the reverse lights to stay on. And that's not going to be cool if the reverse light signal is what's telling the radio to turn on the camera. So that's where we're at with that. So let me grab some tools and we'll get started. All right, I turned some of the big lights off. You can see e-brake set, keys on, put the truck in the reverse, and you see the lights are kind of, I'm just wiggling the shifter that much, and they're going off and on. I was looking at this part though, and it looks like it's adjustable. Like this part moves, which I'm assuming is what hits the different contacts, but then you've got this part kind of slides. So I might just be able to adjust it, not have to take this thing off. So I'm going to slide under there and kind of look around and see what I can figure out. All right, so we're under the truck here, kind of upside down, and that white thing back here, you can see it right there. That's what we're trying to fix. It's not easy to get to, and it's even harder to video. So I'm going to slide under there and see if I can adjust it left or right and see if that helps before I try to take it off, because I don't know how to take it off yet. Let's see what we can do. All right, so we got this thing loose. So these back fingers here, you just clip onto the column and a little notch right there. You just use a little screwdriver, kind of pry it up, and it'll pop loose. Then you just got to undo the wires. Get ready for the new one. All right, got the old one out here, and I was careful not to make it click any in the adjustment wise. So I'm going to try to adjust the new one relatively the same location. Just got to find a good spot to compare. It looks like this one is just a couple of clicks that way more than this one. Not by much, maybe one click. But I have adjusted it a little bit, so. All right, I want to try to match these up and then snap the new one in. And then we got to run a wire while we're under there. And then we'll test the lights out. For sure this little tab is worn. You see how bent it is? A little tab there, and I'm sure those contacts are dirty in there because this thing is just greasy and nasty. I mean, it's 34 years old. It happens. All right, let's see if we can get it back in. All right, so I pretty much have this matched to this one, and we'll have to adjust it once we get it in there. But while I'm under there, I want to add a T-tap because part of this project is to get the reverse camera working, and the radio needs to know that it's in reverse in order to activate the camera. So I'm going to use one of these T-taps, and I looked at the schematic here, and if you see backup light switch, it says blue. All right, so scratch that last section. I read the schematic wrong. The blue wire is inbound power. The light green is what goes out to the backup bulbs. So I had to change the wire under here. So going forward, anytime I say blue wire, it's light green wire. So the blue wire on the wires under there is the signal that lights up the reverse lights. So I'm going to add this T-tap there, and then we'll be able to jump a wire from that over to the radio, and it'll get the signal that the truck is in reverse. And that'll be everything we need to do under the dash. Then it'll be running the wires and installing the camera, which is fairly straightforward. So let me knock that out, and then we'll get a wire run and see if we get a signal on it. All right, so it's snapped back in there. You can see the T-tap I added there as well. And it looks like when you cycle the shifter from park all the way down to first and back, it auto adjusts, right? So I shifted it all the way down and all the way back, and I saw the slider move on both ends until it was adjusted in. So now, if we turn the key on, drop it into reverse, you can't really see it because I got the lights on again. Let's kill those. As you can see, they're on. So back to park, reverse, and I can move the shifter and they stay on. So I fixed it. Awesome. So now I'm going to add a wire to that T-tap, connect it to the radio, and then I've got the signal wire, the RCA wire, bundled up under the dash here. I'm going to unhook it. I'll have to run it under the dash this way, and then under this, and then through the floor. I'm going to try to find a grommet because I don't want it rubbing on the metal, but I don't think I have one. Cool. All right, next step. All right, so I terminated this white wire with a spade, plugged it into that T-tap and run it up through here. Then there's going to be one of the wires on here is going to be rear camera signal. Yeah, reverse input right there. So I've got to terminate that to this white wire, and then we should be able to test fire the camera real quick and make sure everything works before we run the wire. So we'll do that next. These connectors are so cool. Got the little solder joint built in. They're so awesome. Alright, so this is extremely rigged. I've got the hot wire twisted together there with the ground just kind of stuck in the hole where the seat bolt goes. Everything else is connected. The stereo is not in the dash, but it's connected. So I'm gonna brace this up here where I can, well, maybe not. Put the truck in reverse. Yeah. The lights light up. We've got a reverse video. It looks to be right side up. Awesome. Now we just got to run wires. Put everything back together. Alright, so inside the truck's pretty straightforward. I just kind of ran it across above some of the wiring harnesses up there to keep it out of harm's way. And then down the side over here behind the kick panel, and then underneath the kick panel, and then under the step here there's this trick little trough. So I ran it inside there, and then it just snaps back together, and then it goes under the carpet and then comes out right up there out of that hole. So now I'll be able to run it inside the frame rail with the other wires that go to the back. Very secured, very protected. And then connect it back here. Ideally, you would run these wires from the back to the front, but when I installed the radio, I went ahead and connected the power with a solder joint, so I didn't want to cut it off. So I'm going to get under the truck and try to kind of loosely lay this in place, and then start zip tying. And then we've got the camera to mount on the license plate and the power to connect. And while I'm under there, I'm going to go ahead and connect the trailer wire T-connector, and I'm actually going to tap the ground for that so that I don't have to cut into the truck's factory harness. I can T-tap into this ground and use that. Alright, that's the plan. Let's get started. And I'm going to try my best to show you what I did here. So it comes through that hole, you can see up there at the top, and I zip tied it to that wire loom, and then just kind of follow that back. That's where the factory loom runs, so it runs up into the frame rail there. And then back here, that was kind of hard to get to. I had to use a little grabber, but then it's up here above the C-notch, zip tied to the factory wire loom for the tail lights. I need to cut that one off. And then I run it through the holes in the frame by the shock. And then it pops out right here where the connector is for the factory tail lights. That's where we're going to disconnect to jump in the trailer hitch lights. So that's a perfect spot for it, and I've only got just a couple of feet here left, so that'll run over. Won't have a whole lot of wire to have to hide. So that was pretty straightforward. It literally just runs inside that frame rail all the way from under the cab to the back. Worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Camera install is pretty straightforward. You just remove the two screws that hold the license plate on. You run the bracket behind it along with the wire, and then you just cinch it back up. Wire hangs out from the back. Once we get everything working, and we can adjust this camera, it's loose right now, so once we get everything situated where it's working, we can point it in the right direction. Alright, next is going to be wiring up the jumper power that they sent. So the red wire goes to the red with the signal wire, the RCA, and the black goes to just ground anywhere. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and install trailer hitch lighting and just jump to that ground so I don't have to tap into the factory harness. All right, let's see. Wire harness connects here, so we just got to disconnect this factory plug. And then that jumper goes in between. I need both hands though, hang on. All right. It's got a tab in the back that unplugs. This goes in its place. Make sure it clips both sides like that. And then there's a ground wire here, and I think I'm going to try to reuse that bolt that already has a ground on it. The hoop may not be big enough. I may have to change out this end, but I want to try to use that one that's already there. So let's get a socket for that. All right, it's pretty much done back here. I've already kind of bundled it up so you can't really see, but it comes with a power cord. It has both a positive and a negative, so the positive red side goes to the wire that's already on, that comes from the radio, and then the ground side, I just T-tapped it into the ground that come off of the trailer harness, and then I zipped everything up. I don't even have a ball hitch on here right now, but I went ahead and put the trailer harness on there. It's cheap, it's like 20 bucks. And that allows me to not have to tap into the factory harness. You could just go straight to this wire if you wanted your ground, or you could just put a hoop on the end of one on a wire and put it on there. But everything's tucked away now. It's not pretty, but you won't be able to see it. So now all that's left is testing it and putting the seat back in. So let's go check that out. Radio works normal. Put it in reverse, you get a camera. Reverse lights come on. So now I got to get it down off of these ramps, and then we can aim the camera, and this one will be done. This one's a real quick one for you guys. When I was working on the thermostat, I noticed that it's like wet around this. So when I pulled this off, you can see that seal is blown out. So I got the OEM replacement with a good seal on it. I'm gonna throw that on there. Just like that. Done. I just want to try this out. I'm in the driveway here. Throw the truck in reverse. We get a camera. You can hear my exhaust heat shield rattling. Pretty good though. Just like that. Sweet. And we're gonna knock that one off the list. Yup. I rewrote the list. I took all the ones we did off and rewrote it again, so more stuff. Never ends. All right, guys, it looks like that's going to wrap that one up. Thank you guys for hanging out with me here in the garage. We got this project knocked out, and I think that backup camera is really going to be a trick on the OBS, considering it's such an old truck and they didn't come with backup cameras back then. And having reverse lights that work is really going to be helpful too. So for now, you guys have a good one and rock on.